Alrighty, good evening, everyone. My name is Kinley, and on behalf of all of us here at Alpha Care Wellness Center, I am extremely excited for you guys to be here tonight and joining us online. PCOS is not just a medical condition that we talk about in a textbook. It is something that affects our patients, our friends, our families, and some of us personally here at Alpha Care Wellness Center. This is why tonight is a very special event to everyone here, and we're so happy to have you guys with us. This is a safe place to share, learn, and connect around women's wellness. So it is my honor to introduce someone who has been a guide and inspiration to us all, Dr. Catherine Oseni, nationally recognized expert in functional, integrative, and longevity medicine, co-author of Health Longevity, and founder of Alpha Care Wellness Center. For nearly 20 years, Dr. Catherine has poured her heart and expertise into women's health, fertility, healthy aging, and marital intimacy, empowering women to find balance, vitality, and resilience through personalized, root-caused care. We are so proud to welcome her tonight to speak about PCOS, women's wellness. That is a topic near, dear, and deeply personal to so many of us. Please help me in giving a warm, heartfelt welcome to Dr. Catherine.
Wow, this is such a great honor to have you all here. Thank you for joining me tonight, both online and in person. And I know and I'm certain we are going to have a great time. So thank you. Well, we're here and I think, yeah, we're great online. And, oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, we're great online here. So, and if you're joining live, I hope you're great. You're ready to go. You have your books. Have you gone to some refreshments? Wonderful. Okay. So, oh yeah, so great. Well, let's grab our seats and ready to have a great night tonight and a great time of learning. And I know we'll probably have some more people join us, but while we're here, we're going to get the party started. How about that? So, all right, I'm going to just zoom in. Why did the hormone cross the road? Because it saw insulin resistance on the other side. They told me PCOS goes away with age. I'm still waiting. Maybe it's just in remission, like my gym membership. My favorite exercise is a cross between lunge and a crunch. I call it lunge. That is too cute. Well, you know, you have to make light of situations that life throws at you, don't you? So that's very important. And on to our next slide. All right. So we want to bust some myths here. I'm sure you've had this, or someone has told you PCOS symptoms go away with age. True or false? Dun, 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 dun. Does it go? False. It actually changes shape and wears a different hat as we age. So it doesn't disappear. All right. Also, we have powerful tools to improve PCOS. True or false? True. Metabolic and reproductive improvements are actually very possible. So there is hope. We do have hope. That's great. That's good to know. And I think the hope is part of what I want to share tonight. And tonight is a very special night. Thank you all to everyone that's here. Thank you to my wonderful staff that's here always supporting. And like Keely mentioned earlier on, there is something unique about the women of Alpha Care. We all share something very interesting, and it's actually about PCOS, believe it or not. So, and it's very dear to my heart. And I just believe that sometimes in life, you don't know how you're put in a position, right? And that's how my situation started. And I'm not going to bore you with my testimony tonight because I know I want to get into business, but I'll tell you that my own personal journey with PCOS started when I was 18. I think during when I started my cycle and until the age of 18, I wasn't aware of, well, of course, with PCOS, but I was just excited. I remember not telling my mom that, you know, my cycle, I didn't have a cycle because I was like, yay. Oh, that's awesome. And it's like, you know, skip, you know, you're young. You're like, okay, oh, who's going to get, I didn't get a cycle this month, not knowing what irregular cycle was from that age until I got to 18. And he hit me face, and I started having a lot of problems with it, right? And all the things that come with PCOS. And what I'm going to do tonight is I will intertwine my story with what I share. So the beginning of my story is 11 through 18, thinking, oh, well, if I get my cycle, it's okay. If I don't, well, I'm not going to tell it, it's just going to, yeah, it's a great thing not to have. So who cares? But I guess I learned that story quick enough. So, all right, PCOS in numbers, polycystic ovarian syndrome, like we all know it's called. 1 in 10 women are affected, and it's not spoken about enough, right? It's not talked about enough. And I wanted to, it's been such a passion of mine because I see women come in and they don't even know they have PCOS. They just say, well, I don't know. They just told me, yeah. Like, I don't think I have PCOS. How do I, and like, how do I even know I have PCOS? No one has ever mentioned that. Well, it sounds like it. Okay, well, we'll go ahead for the diagnosis. And so this is a big problem. 1 in 10. And how many gets diagnosed? 70% remain undiagnosed. That's a big number. And this is big because we have lifelong health consequences beyond fertility, right? A lot of women, until they get into the fertile age, get married and like, okay, now I'm ready to have babies. Oh, okay, what's going on? Then the workup starts and then the story continues. It's never too late, but if we don't get to the root cause, we never know what caused it, right? Okay. So that's very important. And why does PCOS matters? And PCOS, like we know, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It matters because it affects our whole body. It's not just about your reproductive health. It affects it because over time you can get complications like type 2 diabetes if you do not monitor your blood glucose, right? And also can lead to what I mentioned, infertility, and also non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which we're seeing a lot more of. And you can wonder what the cause of this is. Also depression and also mental health, ADHD in adults, and pituitary dysfunction and increased cancer risk. That's very important. PCOS can actually lead to increased cancer risk. PCOS is the most common endocrine disorder of reproductive aged women, but yet is still undiagnosed for several reasons. And I want us to know that it comes in different phases and forms. It's not because you don't look like PCOS, because we feel like there is a classical presentation for PCOS, and that is a myth that we are going to dispel tonight, because there's not. You and I, we can all be in this room and we could all have PCOS and no one knows that, right? Like I mentioned, it's like our work, we all kind of got called together and God blessed us. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a God thing. So you never know. But it could be hormonal imbalance of excess androgen. We'll talk about that, and causing sometimes dysfunctional estrogen receptors. And sometimes and as we know, it's always complex. We always think it could be easy, like, oh yeah, you just have insulin resistance. It's complex, it's more than that. And also manifests in different types of ways, in different kinds of symptoms that we'll go over, and also hormonal imbalances. And sometimes women can have the same diagnosis, but look very different. We all have PCOS, and we could all look different. The face of PCOS, no one can tell. You just cannot look at someone and say, oh, you have PCOS, because you do have lots of hair or whatever it is, or obesity. Some women with PCOS will have hirsutism, which is like male pattern hair growth, and some don't. They will have a head full of hair, but they still have PCOS. And also mentioned is insulin resistance. So that's another thing for us to know. And PCOS, like I mentioned, doesn't go away. It goes across our lifespan. So I mentioned I got my diagnosis, at 18, but from 11, it's happened. So now I'm so blessed. And I'm saying this online. Mothers, thank you for entrusting me with your children. I am so blessed. The number of girls that are 11, 12, I get to take care of, that come to see me and saying, oh, I think my child has PCOS. I'm like, oh, yes, we need to start now. Now is the time. Because I remember myself as that 11-year-old girl that was just like, okay, I'm going to talk about my cycle and now what that looks like. Teens, irregular cycles, acne, excess hair. One thing I didn't put here is mood disorders, mood changes, mood swings. Sometimes that's something that you want to help your daughters with. Adults, insulin resistance, weight changes. That weight that wouldn't go away, that you just tried everything. The more you work out, the more you're like, I don't know, this is not working. That's something to think about too. Fatty liver. And then the complication comes as we age. That is when we want to now be very careful with PCOS, because as you get older, you have more increased risk of cardiovascular and metabolic disease. And so that's something, again, to be aware of. Of course, that could start earlier on, but as you get older, you have that risk. And I want to add one more: cancer risk, endometrial cancer, breast cancer of sorts. And that's something we need to worry about. So PCOS does not go away, it evolves. So what causes PCOS? Several causes: genetics, hormonal imbalances, insulin resistance, excessive chronic stress, and beautiful environmental factors. That's endocrine disruption, hormonal disruption. We know that all the toxicity that we're faced with on our daily basis, that's part of what causes some of those problems. And we know, as we know in functional medicine, addressing and treating the root cause requires an individual approach. You are a person. You're a person. I am. What works for you might not work for her or not work for me. So we have to look at that individually, because it could be a genetic thing. And for me, it is a genetic thing, because I didn't realize that I had PCOS. I was like, okay, I do. But guess what? And then I was talking to my older sister. It's like, oh, I think I have what you have. Oh, But guess what? Mom doesn't have it. So that's how genetics work. Sometimes we don't look into that part. We don't look into our genetics and understand that you have both partners, right? Your mother and your father, right? But now we have what we call, we have epigenetics. You can change that. And also we have more insight into genetic testing to see. And very importantly, if you've not ever had genetic testing, I encourage you to, because it gives you a lot of answers. Okay. PCOS symptoms. What does it look like? Irregular menstrual cycles. Who had that? Well, when I got to 18, it wasn't fun anymore. Because like, okay, this. I was older than in college. I'm like, like, I would see my roommates, why are you cycling every month? Well, of course I knew, but then I was like, okay, I have to tell my mom, why this is not fun anymore. And why didn't you tell me? Of course, I got that note. Hyperandrogenism too is one. That's that manifestation in different ways. We have the excess facial and body hair as well. Hair thinning, acne, oily skin, blood pressure, cardiovascular, insulin resistance, obesity, weight gain. But check that though. PCOS is also common in lean women. So that's why the face of PCOS does not necessarily have to be a specific body shape. It could be, it doesn't matter. You could be very athletic, you could be very energetic, and still have PCOS. It manifests in different ways. Infertility could be the cause of that increased body odors in some, and irritability, that mood swing. That's why, if you have a daughter, like, okay, all right, let me start watching that. That's important. So yeah, keep an eye on that. So why traditional advice falls short? We all love our Western medicine. God bless Western medicine. We need it. Right? It's important. But when you're just told to just lose weight, you're like, well, I know that. I've tried everything, Jenny Craig, Mother Craig, right? I've tried everything. Nothing is working. So it's not about that, right? Okay. Testing inconsistencies leave women undiagnosed. Oh, well, yesterday your fasting blood glucose was okay. Maybe you just need to pay more attention to your carb overload. Maybe that's what it is, or something else. No. And so this has been over the century. Like, this has been a tug of war with PCOS. So you're not broken. Hey, there's hope. You're misinformed. We're gonna crack that tonight. All right. So I mentioned there are types of PCOS, and there's the insulin resistance. Most times that typically have that when they test your fasting insulin, you usually get that greater than 7, that's something you want to watch for. Adrenals, you always, that abnormal stress response. Some have it. I've never had it tested. I always encourage to test that. Checking your DHEA, which is a sex hormone, is good to test to see if that's what is predominant in your PCOS. Inflammatory PCOS, it could be from chronic inflammation, from lifestyle. That just compounds your PCOS, like your lifestyle, your gut health, right? Your toxic exposure, birth control use, right, can create overlapping PCOS types. And then post-pill. Some have been on birth control for years, get off, get a rebound. I'm over my birth control. Where's all this hair coming from? My nose is, you hear that. What is going on? And sometimes you have to kind of walk them through that process after they decided not to be on birth control anymore. All right, adrenal PCOS, some of the signs and symptoms are listed here. I have a lot of slides to go through, so I'm going to just, so this are some of the symptoms. Inflammatory is also listed here. Post-pill PCOS, what does that look like? This is one I want to spend some time on. So if you give yourself some time and grace, if you've been on birth control pills and you made that choice with your provider, blessing, of course, always check with your provider. Very important. Do not just go with a podcast or hearing someone's talk, right? Make sure you verify and validate that with your provider and they said it's fine. Don't be alarmed if after you stop the pill, you have the symptoms. I want you to take a look at that. If you're online, if you're in here and listening and you're, oh, it's not going to work. I can't do this. I've got to get back on the pill. Read through this. And this is some of the things you will face if you were being on the pill. So that's something I want you to do, to encourage, just to get you to be encouraged if you've tried that before. And I want to talk about this. We know this is some of the things that women face when you have PCOS. Oh, I can't sleep, is just horrible. I try to sleep. I wake up during the middle of the night. My doctor says I have sleep apnea. Why? I've tried. What's going on? And everything worsens when you're insulin resistant, and everything worsens when I don't know if you've heard this or if anyone that has been associated with PCOS about bulimia, anorexic eating disorder is also associated with PCOS. More of the bulimia, where emotional eating, and I really feel is tied to that adrenal form of PCOS, because then the stress comes and then you stress eat or you stress not eat, whichever way, right? So that's something that we definitely need to look into, but that's where the appetite regulation comes in, and like just going to binge and like, oh, and you feel that unworthiness, and I hear that, and just that mental depression. Why did I do that? Why did I have to go to Whataburger? I know best. I know I shouldn't do this, but I did. But I'm exhausted. I'm tired. So that's something that is tied in. And also the sleep-wake cycles, and like I mentioned, the sleep apnea. So it's important that when you know you have PCOS, you want to support your circadian rhythm. One thing I do, I'll tell you, that putting myself in remission, one of the things I really love to do is that morning sunlight. It's so cheap, very inexpensive, but worth it. Wake up and make sure the first thing you do is go outside. Very important. Just go outside. Go outside and get some sunlight. Get some sunlight to regulate your cortisol, especially if you have adrenal PCOS. And you will know what type of PCOS you have based on if you've been getting labs done, if you've been talking to your providers, you should be able to tell, oh, mine is more adrenal or mine is more inflammatory based on the symptoms I see. And then also building that consistent sleep routines, don't make your phone your best friend in your bed, right? Don't, some of those things, try to keep up that habit. Mental health is non-negotiable. There's a higher risk of anxiety and depression. This is a well-studied area in PCOS. This area of mental health and PCOS is a topic that if everyone finds interesting, that we can actually bring back and talk about just PCOS and mental health, because I think it's big. Because most times we're just the pill. Here's the pill. This is it. And we're not getting deep into what the root cause is. So sometimes you might need it. I mean, again, that's between you and your provider. You might, but have you also looked into other reasons why you feel you're having that too? So This is very important that behavioral therapy, support groups, lifestyle, hormonal optimization. It doesn't mean you have to take hormones. It might be finding ways to help you balance what you have because it's not well balanced. So those are things we can do. So, and then addressing that insulin resistance and to actually help you boost your mood. Very important, key. I also want to mention this too. One of the things I found out in my journey, one of the things that's helped me in my journey is when I found out at a very young age, and there's a part I haven't said, like I said, I'm going to throw my story in between, is when you find out that vitamin D is a hormone. It's not a vitamin, it is a true hormone. If you have PCOS, you need to have your levels at least between 16 nanogram per milliliter or 80 nanogram per milliliter. You actually will probably function better around that 80 and 80 nanogram. It helps a lot. It helps kind of overcome some of that hormonal mental imbalances as well. So that's a good thing to know. If you don't know your numbers, make sure you're checking that. Now, stress management is something I want to talk about a little bit. And this is another area of PCOS that I think is worth putting definitely some emphasis in, because we don't know how much that stress, kind of builds on. And if you have that adrenal PCOS, this is for you, or even if it's not. One thing I want to say is I talked about the different types of PCOS. Sometimes you're going to see them mix match. You can see them intertwined. You can have, I see a little bit of inflammatory. I also see a little bit of, the adrenal, right? But I'll say this, skipping breakfast is not always ideal. And there's so many reasons why. I always encourage, if you really feel like you're insulin resistant, you feel like, and you honestly feel like your blood sugar is not regulated, you might want to try a continuous glucose monitor for a while. Like buy one and try it for like 2 months. It's inexpensive for your health. It is inexpensive. You can buy like the lifestyle or one of those and try to regulate that, because skipping breakfast or trying to fast the intermediate or OMAD 1 meal a day might be more detrimental to your glucose monitor. So once you know your body, then you can incorporate that. But always try to start your day with protein. And again, my story, I used to like to fast. I do occasionally fast, spiritually fast and do my spiritual fast. But when I'm not doing any of that, I love to eat breakfast, even if it's a little bit. And sometimes it's not much, but I notice the day I'm intentional about it, I feel so much better. That sometimes I would not even feel hungry during the course of my day. And my girls, they will tell you, I'm like, I've not been hungry all day. And then I'm like, I've not even eaten all day. But then I'll forget, I'm like, oh, because I ate, like so early in the morning. But then it's like so early. So sometimes that might be what you need, like that early morning, because you haven't eaten, you fasted all night. I mean, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. is a 12-hour fast, right? Even 5 to 7 is a 14-hour. 5 p.m. to 7, if you want to do that, is a 14-hour. But break your fast, break fast. I mean, if that works for you, sunlight, mindful routine, meditation, prayer, and preparing a healthy meal. One of my hobby that I've loved to overcome my challenges with PCOS is I have this love for cooking. It's become my hobby, because I know there's so many things I suffered with that before I knew it. I mean, of course, college kid, eating really bad and just not paying so much into my health. And I knew that when I ate better, I felt better, right? I knew that. And I was so happy that I started doing a lot of that. And I found my love and passion for cooking. And it's my hobby. Like when I get in the kitchen to cook, when I do, I get excited. I get happy. I'm like, that's my happy place. It gets me happy. So find that, or try to start taking care of yourself. It's part of your self-care. Prioritize socialization and community exercise. I cannot hammer that enough. It's very important. And sleeping as well. Sleep quality while you're healing is important. Okay. All right. Muscle organ of longevity. Talked about exercise. You want to build muscle. You want to maintain muscle. So you want to add resistance to your exercise. What I have seen this on several social media, like, oh, what's the best workout for PCOS? Well, the best workout is first the one you'll do and you'll be consistent with. Second of all is when you have consistency, you want to put some resistance into that. And my change, my transformation, I mean, I've been bigger. I've had my weight just transition over the course of my life. Like, even having children before I was okay, right? Then I started having children, and then I had my twins, and it just hit me like, phew. And it was just difficult, very difficult, very challenging. I tried it all. And then, well, this is not against any fitness center. I love fitness centers. I love gyms, but I say start somewhere. Sometimes when you start at home, you can build on what you have. The gyms are good and they're great for you, but for some, if you don't start small, you're never going to grow. You're never going to get to the next level. So sometimes you might just want to start. And that's what I did. I think it was COVID. I was during COVID. I was like, you know what? I used to just be that. I've done it all. Like just talk about, and I love working out. It's like I get passion. But guess what? I just started working out at home. Just started. I was like, I'm just going to do 20 minutes. And I'm one to just push myself but then I won't be consistent with it because I work out, then I'll get exhausted. Because PCOS is real, really. I'll get exhausted and I knew I had to build myself back. So I started with 20 minutes. And best game of my life, best. You know why? Because now 5 days of 20 minutes is nothing to me. It's just, then if I do more, I'm like, oh, I did more, but so start somewhere. Don't think like I'm going to work out. So I'm going to sign up for 3 programs, then do the excess ones when you can, but don't take that and then start building muscle. Then that's how I started seeing my transformation. I've had muscle. I've always built muscle, but then I realized that when I started doing it consistently, and it's so helpful in maintaining your weight and in also keeping you healthy and just keeping you alive, keeping your energy going too. So building muscle is therapy. Cooking is therapy. Building is therapy. And also blood sugar, insulin, hormones. These are all the things we've talked about. I think we haven't mentioned microbiome. Your gut health is very important too. You want to make sure that you're regulating your microbiome accordingly, that you're making sure you have healthy bacteria, you have the prebiotic and probiotic in the gut. All right, wonderful. And like I mentioned, mental health already. So how do we kind of combat this? It's a multifaceted approach. It's never one, because there's no one single cause of PCOS, right? Are we all here still with me online? Okay. All right, I'm going to take a pause after this slide so I can ask questions. I like to also have a dialogue, so I'm not just the only one talking. All right, it's not a single cause. So we know already we have to balance those sex hormones, blood sugar, and insulin. We want to reduce inflammation, support the metabolic health if that's part of the issue here, and support that mental health. Very important. And also, I forgot to mention, when you start working out, that mental health really gets taken care of. And there's also something linked about ADHD and PCOS. It's real. So really real. So anyway, so ADD, ADHD, and then sometimes when people get into the later age, and I'm like, oh, what's going on here? I can focus. I'm like, I'm all over the place. I can get things done. Well, that's some of the things you need to look into. So addressing the microbiome is also part of the emerging frontier. There's so many things coming in the pipeline. I'm excited. There's not a lot of noise about PCOS, but slowly it's coming. And one of the reasons why we're having this today is because I figure that we're going to wait for. You're going to wait until you have someone, like, oh yeah, you have to wait for a star in Hollywood. No, we have to mobilize ourselves and be the answers to our cure and right? So there it is. So I'm going to take some questions online, just a few questions before we go ahead along. So questions in-house.
What? Sorry.
Oh, should I not do that? Okay.
Sorry about that.
If our online audience have any questions, just come off mute and ask Dr. Catherine.
Questions in-house? Yes.
noticed that it says something about blood sugar, but does PCOS have to go hand in hand also with blood pressure? Blood pressure?
It can, yes, because the question was if PCOS also goes hand in hand with blood pressure, and it does. I mean, in a way, because it does affect your cardiac health as well. So, and very good question, because it can also, I mean, also address your cardiometabolic health, like your lipid, dyslipidemia, cholesterol, triglycerides, all that also gets involved as well. Yes, ma'am. So blood pressure is part of that. And then, yes. So if all that's not controlled, like your blood glucose, that eventually will tie into, yeah. Yes, ma'am. It is a dominant effect. Yes.
And
It
here's
is.
a question coming through. This is a good one. I have irregular periods and acne, but my ultrasound was normal. Can I still have PCOS without cysts?
Yes. Yes. Very good question. Yes, you can still have PCOS without cysts. As a matter of fact, the new recent updated diagnosis states that for older women, based on the age of what that person is, based on her age, the anti-Mullerian hormone is now one of the indicators that we can use to test to see if you do have PCOS. And sometimes with that person, like going through the categories I talked about tonight, like if it's inflammatory or, like, or is it more endocrine or insulin, going through that also would help. So yes, absolutely, you can still have, and not everyone. And I'm so glad that they made the changes to that, to the diagnosis, because a lot of people are like, well, I went in and there were no cysts at the time, maybe the cyst rupture, or there are no even cysts at all. But yeah, so the AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone, now is one of those that we're using as well as a predictor of PCOS. Good question. All right, any other question?
And I did have one from a previous slide that somebody raised.
Okay.
She said, I heard PCOS can raise the chance of diabetes and heart problems, but how serious is the risk and what can we do to lower it?
Oh, good question. Serious is the reason, serious, really serious, because first of all, if you don't know where your fasting insulin is, if you don't know where your fasting blood glucose is, and you've just gone through the motion and have not truly or even done a blood glucose study, then it's serious, right? Because you don't know. So, and also your cardiometabolic risk. If you don't know that, it's a risk. So, and what should you do about it? All the things we're talking about tonight, we're going to get to that, like the exercise, the self-care, meditation, diet, lifestyle, all that is what we're going to do about it. And we have to be serious. We have to be consistent about it. Good questions. Yeah. But also, we're not going to overwhelm ourselves. We're going to start with a priority. We're going to start with something and we're going to go with it. How about that? Sounds good? All right. Wonderful. Good questions, everyone. Okay. All right. So on back to all right. Okay. Well, great slide. I think this is a good measure for that question that came on. Evidence-based lifestyle strategies. You want to eliminate liquid calories. Please do. It just causes more insulin spikes. I'm drinking this. It has protein. Some people are looking at themselves in-house. I'm drinking because it's easy. You're just, spiking your blood, that's something you don't want to happen. And also replace refined carbs with complex carbs. Again, we can actually have another lecture on PCOS and nutrition. Low glycemic index foods are very important. So please make sure we're doing that. Move more before exercise. Move. That's important. And that's what I was talking about. Like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym. I want to go ahead and I'm going to get to the gym today. What if all you're doing really is doing what? Moving. Do you know how do you know it takes intentionality to get 10,000 steps a day? Truly and truly. It is. It's very intentional to get 10,000 steps a day, because most times you're like, oh, I'm going to get like, oh, I just got 5,000. But when you know you have to close that 10,000, that's movement. That's you're burning calories naturally, right? And you're doing whatever you like. If you like to work in nature, if you like to work outside, climb the hill, you're doing that. And then once you do that, then you form a habit. But start with something. I believe in one thing: consistency trumps intensity. Consistency first, even if it's 10 minutes. Just don't go, oh, today's the day. I'm going to go 2 hours and crash. And then that's it. That's it, right? All right. Testosterone is important. We want to know about where your testosterone lies. High fiber, whole food. We're going to talk about fiber tonight. And I'm very excited because releasing a product tonight. So for those online and in-house, you're going to get to know about some of the great products curated for specifically for PCOS and for people that really want to intentionally be very creative with their fiber intake, because we all know fiber gets very challenging to get in. Is that you blow with it or you don't like it? And guess what the name is? It's called Alpha Slim Plus. So it does help. Alpha Slim Plus. Yeah, interesting. So even without weight loss, lifestyle will help you modify your hormones. So diagnosing PCOS, that actually takes me to that question. So there's a lot to go through in that: irregular cycles, high androgens, polycystic ovaries. Two of this is what's we've had since in the 1900s, that once you have any of this. But now onto the next slide, we'll see that we got some updates, and this is what it looks like. If you look at the slide, less than 21 or greater than, this is all from, this is all clinical research. This is what we have from the reproductive organization. So this is where you have in reproductive endocrinology, what you have about primary amenorrhea, where you've been, is it irregular cycle, is it PCOS, or you have an ovulation. But you can always discuss this with your provider. Next slide. Yeah, we'll go on to it. Okay. All right. And then you always want to get your baseline labs. That's important. Have blood work done to get baseline labs. Your hormones, your insulin, everything. Check your glucose, your liver, making sure you don't have non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and your micronutrients. Remember that AMH is important, and the DHEA, testosterone. And we have different modern assays that we're using now for that as well. Okay. All right, this is some of the labs for PCOS that you want to make sure is tested. You can take a screenshot of that. If that's something you don't have, you want to, take some time on this. You want to take a screenshot. And then we also have, this is also including some more. And there's that GGT is important to check for liver health and the lipid profile as well. So all that's important. So if you have never had any of this done, additional labs, and you're like, oh my gosh, yes, you got to test it all. There is a correlation between Hashimoto thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune, and PCOS. There's that connection. So when you're testing for PCOS, you're always going to do that full panel, of thyroid panel, to see where you are. And I talk about the genetics, and also sometimes I CGM as well. Awesome. Good. All right. Some of the nutrients that usually what you see in fiber: spearmint tea. Drink some tea. Spearmint, just get some spearmint tea. I always have some of those. Chaseberries or herb, vitamin D. So this is some of the nutrients that are particular. I mean, there's a lot more, and so there are tons of nutrients that you want to, your veggies, your omega-3 fatty acids, and all that. And what's the best diet for PCOS? No one size fits all diet. It's always individualized. You're an individual. So sometimes, oh yeah, I learned about the Mediterranean. I want to do the carnivore. And no, you have to know your baseline. You need to get your labs. You need to know, look at all those labs. There's so many information. So when people come to see me, they always know this. I never open a textbook. Sometimes I don't even open anything. I'm like, listen, you can't do this. You can't. We have to create one for you, because it's not gonna work. You're so inflamed. You're inflamed. You have to start from scratch, and that's what works. Because putting you in a text, you're not a textbook. You're human. You're individualized. So you have to create that out of something fiber rich. and prebiotics and probiotics, and avoiding inflammatory foods. Gluten, most times they're pro-inflammatory, so we want to avoid those. So most times just kind of going through that guideline and then tailoring it. I always help to do that, tailoring it to you, to what's specific for you and your health goals at that time. Because if you're high insulin resistance, I don't think Mediterranean unquote will be the best diet for you. You've got to go through that. So again, you still have to enjoy yourself. Please don't think like, oh my goodness. It's not, you can. You still have some wiggle. Okay. There's wiggle room. Yeah. So don't sigh. Like, no, you're still gonna enjoy your foods. So this is some of the foundational supplements that you get with PCOS. That is recommended, and we'll talk through this of what you need. Again, you don't have to do everything. It's also based on your needs, what you need and what your body needs. So, some targeted nutraceuticals and what I focus on in clinic to help. I mentioned that Ultra Slim, the fiber, the creatine. So I know there's a lot of hype about creatine. Everyone gets on creatine. I'm going to say this. Creatine is not a magic wonder. It's not a magic potion either. You have to start working out and you really gain the muscle and you see the muscle growth. So if it's almost like you can't put creatine on what's not, right? You're feeding something. So if there's nothing to feed, it's not going to work. So it's not a magic. So don't even bother to get it if you're not going to start working out. But if you're going to start working out, I'll tell you, I like the way it leans the body. I really do. It leans you out. It makes you feel full and it really helps your brain clarity. Yeah. All the studies are true, but it's not magic. And I'll tell you this, I'm honestly going to be the first one to tell you there's no magic out there. There's nothing you're going to get or you're going to buy. That's just going to do it without you putting work in it. Don't even start it if you're not going to do it. So if anyone tells you, oh, buy this, that's all you need to do. No. Or just even the GLPs. Oh, that's another topic we should talk about. PCOS and the GLP ones, the peptides, semaglutide, and all the peptides. Wonderful, but it doesn't work itself, right? So we'll talk about that if anyone asks questions about it. So liquid D and the chrome complex, the chromium, that's one for people that are leptin resistant, that kind of feel like they never get full, or they're always like carb eating, or kind of get that stress eating or travel. Chrome complexes for you. So this were specifically curated and put together for people with polycystic ovarian syndrome needing specific help, targeted to help in different ways. And the glutathione as well, the master antioxidant, are great products. And if you need more information, we'll kindly share that with you. Yeah. All right. So we want to rest, repair, restore. So we need to, one of the things I want you to do, meditation. I mean, not everything is not taking nutraceuticals, not taking a pill. You want to meditate, you need time in nature, you need to socialize. I mean, that decreases your cortisol, having a great time, like tonight. The reason, the purpose of always trying to do a hybrid and have people together, there's nothing like coming together. There's nothing like a community. Like, see you guys, feeding off your energy. It's always positive. It takes a lot to put this together. Thank you to all these beautiful ladies in the house. Can't do it by myself. But you know what? It's always a fun time. And regardless of what it is, I know virtual, we can't get to in person, but socializing every now and then, power time, girl time, what have you, is great. Joyful moments, maintaining blood sugar levels, getting enough sleep, and getting therapy or support when needed. Very important. Do not do it on your own. You're not an island. You're not. Do you have enough support? Make sure you're reaching out for it. Okay, right. So thank you for joining me tonight. I want to take more questions and questions. Okay.
Oh, yes, I
Good compliment.
Yes.
I have a question about hysterectomy.
Mhm.
Does that help or change? What does that look like for women that think possibly that could get rid of the problem? Because what is the answer for that?
Okay, good. Okay, so good question. The question is about hysterectomy, and asking in-house if we think what we think that would be a solution, right? To help them with the problem. Dependent. So I'll answer that question into front end. So having discussed with your provider, I'm sure getting to that point, there's been a lot of either complications and situations that have led to that. Sometimes it's absolutely needed, and you've been guided into that to avoid certain complications. Sometimes you might have to get to do that hysterectomy, and then after that, maybe then heal and start the healing journey, because the hysterectomy is not the end all, right? Then the healing process and all the hard work is going to start. But that's something that, if that's what it's come to for whatever reason, then might be. So I'll have
not the first solution to.
Oh. Okay, so asking if that's not the first solution. Sometimes in life, you're put in a situation where you probably never knew. You never knew better. You've never done anything, and you're now at that point where things have gone far. So that might be the solution at that point. If certain things are in danger, or there's if there's danger, complications ahead, then that might be the solution, right? So, or not. But once you've gotten to that and it's like, okay, this is what we've got to do, then we need to know why and get to know the understanding and the rationale behind that, to now say, okay, let's step back and look, or hey, let's just go for it. But know that once it's done, the work starts. That's when work really starts. Yeah. And I say, I have a lot of women that have gone into hysterectomy, and I'll tell them, listen, the work starts, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work, and you can do it. So, yeah. Very good question. Yes.
I have a question online from somebody who says, I have both thyroid and PCOS. Does one make the other worse?
Ah, good. Is it Hashimoto's? Do they know if they have Hashimoto thyroiditis? They don't know yet?
Hashimoto's, yes.
Oh, interesting. We just talked about that tonight. So there is a correlation. There's a correlation with Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is an autoimmune, and PCOS. So does the other make each other worse? Yeah, they marry each other, and sometimes they actually cause problems. Yeah, so most times if you have both, oh yeah, you definitely want to get ahead of it. You have to correct that, get to the root cause of the Hashimoto, which is an autoimmune, selenium, the lifestyle, because they do kind of intertwine, and they can really help make symptoms worsen. Oh yes, really make it worsen. All right, great questions.
I know that they were wanting to hear about our 2 new products that you're launching. I saw that you had them on your nutraceutical list.
Mm-hmm.
So then, in balance, did you want to speak on these new, because they get a special insight?
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Once after we finish the questions.
Sure.
Okay, great. Okay, more questions. Okay.
Here's one from one of our regular clients who says that she doesn't feel that most of her doctors take her seriously when she brings up her PCOS symptoms. She wants to know how to better advocate for herself.
Good question. How can you that's a good question. How can you better advocate for yourself with your providers? Well, pushing more for answers. Now, sometimes, like some of the things we've uncovered tonight is more of a functional medicine perspective, right? All the holistic, and you can just ask, I would like some more of those labs. I would like to do this more labs. I want to, or let them know that, let your providers know that, I am working with a functional medicine doctor provider that wants to get to the root cause. And honestly, I work with a lot of physicians and some of times they refer them over. So if they're not wanting to get there, then collaborate. There's always that collaborative opportunity in practice to work with on that case. So that's always important. So if they're not open to it and you're happy with your provider, then get on with that. I mean, that Eastern holistic aspect and collaborate with them. That's what I mean. Yeah. So you can get to that. You can get that natural approach to what you need.
Which actually touches on another question.
Oh, good.
Asking if there's affordable ways to handle PCOS symptoms without doctor visits and meds, and are meds always necessary?
Good question. Are there affordable ways? So yes, I know that functional medicine is cash-based, but and one thing I know and that we pride ourselves of here is we can work with you, and lifestyle is one. We can help build that around it, and you don't have to be on medication. If they're asking about medication, you don't have to be on that. Lifestyle is number one. You want to get, but it depends again. Remember, there's inflammatory, there's insulin resistance. If your insulin is, I had a lady I saw recently with an insulin of, I think it was like 15, and it needs to be less than 7. That's a call Jesus, let's help heal, because that's not good. Yeah, I would say, I mean, actually I'm sorry. It was like in the 20s. So it was pretty high. And the fasting blood glucose was like in the hundreds. That's not good. So that's something where you want to get on and go after, and either collaborate with their practitioner or just say, okay, lifestyle, let's do this. What can you do? So yeah. So it just depends on how severe it is. You can start with lifestyle, but I don't know. Yeah. So how severe it is, and then work with that person. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
I have a question. So people hasn't yet been diagnosed, who kind of just started looking into these things. I think they're part of WebMD. Diagnose themselves. So would you say that they should start with their primary care physician and get blood work done there, and then have that referral sent over to then their gynecologist, or what steps do you recommend?
Yes, so that's a good question. Question is the stepwise approach. If you start with your primary care, so that again, that could be based on your insurance. If you're already established with your gynecologist, you could just go in for your annual and just talk about it, and that could probably even get it quicker, and kind of say, hey, I'm thinking about this situation. As we learned today, pelvic ultrasound, you could do the transvaginal ultrasound. It might be negative. It might not show cyst, but you could do that anti-malarial hormone and all the other labs. And sometimes if they're like, oh, well, maybe insurance won't pay for it and they don't want to run it, that's when you can collaborate with someone like us, and we can help you run some of those labs. We run labs in-house, by the way. I should mention that we have opportunity to run labs, and we don't have to run all the panels. We can run specific ones. If like, okay, we just want to run a PCOS quick lab to see what it is, we can. And we can give you that information and send it over to your provider, or you can take it with you with them. So either way.
So if they had a biopsy done last year, let's say, and it showed signs of endometriosis, I mean, would those still having that biopsy and having those labs already kind of ran?
Yeah.
Tell you, or
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I also do those labs. I'll do your anti-malarial, your prolactin, I mean, all those labs.
Endometriosis kind of runs hand in hand with this as well too.
Yeah, so yeah, and we didn't talk about endometriosis today because then that's kind of like on a separate one. No, not at all, please. I mean, hey, that's why we're here. So you see a lot of that, right? Because even PCOS can be a risk of endometrial cancer. So endometriosis is right around that. So yes. So which one came first, chicken or the egg? We don't know. That's why you run those labs, to see what those labs look like. And then also try to run the thyroid to make sure we know what the thyroid looks like as well. Yes, you're welcome. So yeah, I mean, and it's just good to do. Awesome, good. Anything else? Any other questions?
One more question.
Okay.
She said that she finally got pregnant after years of struggling. She wants to know if the symptoms will come back worse now that she had a baby, because she was told that they would.
Ooh. That's a question that's very dear to my heart. Yeah, I think that question was like the Lord saying I needed to talk about this tonight. If you're on that listening to me, that was me. I had my boys, and Lord Jesus, my husband is here, and it took, mm, yeah, it took a lot. It took a lot. It came worse, really. Yeah, it was worse after, not after not after our first was a little bit, but after our twins. Oh my goodness. Yeah. That's when everything went down. And I was like, oh, but I'm a fighter. I was like, listen, here we go. Ready for this. It was everything. I'm like a textbook for PCOS. So when someone comes to me and like, oh my gosh, oh, why is she so passionate about this? I'm like, there's a reason for it. But yeah, but you can beat it, because honestly, I'm so grateful because to God, but I tell you, my passion for what I do is not about money. And a lot of you know that. Is about the fact that if I could find answers, I want each and every one of you to find answers. And I think I have so much knowledge about this because I just had to get to the bottom of this for myself. And I knew if I could do it, I knew there's no reason I sit down and not share this with the world. There's no reason. I have been through the worst of PCOS, the worst part of PCOS. There's just, but you know what? Now I'm living my best life, better than ever before. Like just where I want to be, like so like excited, like just so excited. Still have my challenges, still have my battles, but you know what? Every day is a great day. But when I come in here and the girls know, they can tell you, I do this, I'm like, oh, and my husband will tell you he's watched me through this throughout the seasons, but it's been great. So yes, can't get worse. It can't get worse. So sorry. Oh my goodness. I do want to go there, but then that question like, oh.
She says thank you for your honesty.
Yeah, but tell her we can work through it. I know so much now that no one has to go through that again. And I know so much about you. No one has to go through it. There's no reason. But some people fail to, It's like people ask me, why do you love women's health so much? Why do you want to do this? What do you like? Listen, when you've gone through so much in your life and you can literally put there your own personal experience and you really dug yourself into research, into science, and into learning it, listen, it becomes your breath, right? You breathe it, you live it. You can't tell me about that. I've been through infertility. I didn't even talk about that. That's another story. I've been through it all. So open the chapter of PCOS. When you talk about everything, this is this woman right there, right here. So that question made me I'm sorry. Okay, next question. Is that all?
That's all I have right now.
Okay, great. All right, it's been a wonderful evening. And can you have those two things you wanted me to show? And I'm going to share that with us. Okay. The inner balance. This is the myo-inositol and D-chiroinositol. This, if you have PCOS, helps balance your hormones. Wonderful for hormone balancing. Can't talk about this enough. This marries PCOS. And has anyone heard about myo-inositol and D-chiroinositol? No? Oh, you have, yes, it's good for managing, it's good for men and women, just helping to manage your, anxiety, helping your hormones balance, regulate those hormones, the surge, off and on. This will be great. And that's all, and this is all pure myo and D-chiroinositol in the ratio you need on a daily basis, just one scoop. Some have to go to 2, but 1 should be fine. And those two are just really good. And also helping you kind of just maintain stability as well. Very
Is
good.
it something they need to mix in water or milk?
Yeah,
or-
so you can mix just this in water. At nighttime is good, just helping you relax as well. I usually recommend. Some people do have to take it in the morning because it helps their anxiety. Really good. So great one. And this just launched, and like I said, this is one of the best you can get because it's just pure. I mean, this are by Alphaceuticals by myself, and this is just pure targeted nutritional for you with no additives, third party tested, and just getting what you need to get that objective lab information. So, and then the other one, yes, and this is the Fiber Slim I mentioned. Great fiber, won't make you bloat, helps you feel, fulfill that 30 grams of fiber that you need without having to worry about additional fiber, which you do need fiber daily. Love this. This is another one launching today. Great product, just to add on to your nutritional lifestyle. Of course, you still want to eat your fiber, very important, but most times you don't get adequate fiber. So you want to definitely add fiber into your daily routine, especially if that weight gain has been an issue. You want to definitely add the Ultra Fiber Slim as well. And we didn't add the creatine and the
creatine's in that.
Yes, and we also have the creatine as well. And the creatine is to help with muscle building, brain health, cognitive health, and just vitality in all. So, all right. Questions? Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you, Kimberly. Thank you all for being here tonight. It's been a great time. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and look forward to see you soon.
All righty. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We loved sharing this time with you guys. We hope you'll join us next month. It's going to be October 23rd, another Thursday. We'll be doing a hybrid, so you can join online, you can come here in person. We always have really good snacks and obviously a really good speaker. So this will be a master class by Dr. Catherine on perimenopause and menopause. That is something that she is we see a lot of patients here at Alpha Care that are dealing with menopause or perimenopause, and they have no clue what is going on. And she gets them right through it. So this is something she's very passionate about as well, just like PCOS.